Okay, this video is for you if you have had a bad church experience, or if you are uh, a follower of Jesus, you're in church but just something is missing. You feel like something ought to be there, but it's not there. And so I just want to talk about how to process a bad church experience and what I'm working on right now to try to offer people who've had a bad church experience a place where maybe they can feel safe and maybe they can thrive. So, anyway, I want to say a couple things at the outset. Number one, I have had good church experiences and bad church experiences. I'm presently part of a church. I'm happy there. I like the pastor. I like the people, so that disclaimer. Although I will say that I've had bad church experiences. I've been kicked out of churches. I've been made to feel like the enemy. I have been stripped of membership. I've been kicked off the board. I've had, if a bad thing could happen in church, it's probably happened to me. So I've had the good, the bad, the ugly. I've had the whole gamut. And the other thing I want to say up front is a good chunk of what I am saying comes out of this book, Church Refugees by Josh Packard and Ashley Hope. Um, uh, what this book is about quality people, followers of Jesus who have left church. They're done with church. They don't want anything more with church. And so Josh Packard, a sociologist, he did the exit interviews that so many pastors or churches are not doing, and he figured out why. And what he figured out is that the people who are leaving many times, most of the time, much of the time, are not bad people, and they're not people who don't care, but they're people who care too much. And the church was just not meeting their needs. And I also want to say up front that I'm not dissing the church. I'm not disrespecting the church. I love the church. Pastors work so very hard. If you're a pastor, you have my respect and you have my empathy, really, because it is a tough job to be a pastor. So anyway, with all of that in mind, I just want to talk. I've got a list here, and I'll be referring to it as I talk, but I just want to talk about some of the things either I've experienced or other people have experienced in church, and just the bad experience and what I think is possible as an alternative. So, a big thing that comes up a lot is people feeling judged and people feeling ostracized, feeling less than, they get dirty looks, jealousy, whispering, rumors, whatever. And some of that is just it's unavoidable because people are people and people are going to be people anywhere. And people do people things. And sometimes people do nasty people things. And if that's happened to you, I am genuinely sorry. It's happened to me. It's no fun. Nobody likes it. And I'm sorry that it's happened to you. I do think that it's possible to create a culture where you don't have to change who you are to fit in, where is you don't have to have an immaculate house, for example. You don't have to be upper middle class to fit in. You can be who you are, and you're still going to be respected. You're still going to be understood. You're still going to be valued and not thought of as less than. And to be fair, sometimes these feelings of being judged or rejected or less than, sometimes they're happening mainly inside ourselves. And it's not really coming from out there. It feels like it's coming from out there, but it's something that we have to process with God. We have to take those feelings to God and say, this is what happens. This is what it feels like. If my feelings could talk, this is what they would say. This is what's connected to it. Lord Jesus, what do you want me to know? And get God's perspective. So that's important. But I know that many times people feel unwelcome in church. I certainly felt that at times. I could tell you, I will tell you this story. I was visiting a church once, and I didn't understand their culture at all, but I was just trying to visit, you know how you are when you first visit a church, just trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. Well, that's what I was trying to do, but they were raising money to buy a school bus to bus kids in for their Sunday school. And the way that they did it is everybody in the church got up and you marched around the church, and you got to the front, and everybody was watching. You had to put money in the basket, and I don't know if I didn't have money or whatever, but anyway, I didn't know that I was supposed to march. And so somebody kind of jerked my arm and got me going into this line, marching around the church. And I came back and I just sat down in my pew, and then somebody gave me a dirty look, and I realized, oh, everybody else is still standing. So they, kind of motioned for me to get up and, stand at the edge of the church, kind of circling it like Jericho, I guess. But anyway, the show wasn't over until we all sang the bus song, and it's just like, oh boy, talk about feeling out of place and unwelcome. Well, I do think that it's possible to create at least a small group experience where you can feel welcome and you will feel welcome. And I have been to small groups where I felt very welcome and very loved. I've been to others where I felt, this person doesn't want me here. So I've had both, but I think it's possible to create the right experience. And anyway, I'm just going to say up front where I'm going with all of this. I am working on creating a small group experience that will serve as an antidote for many of these things, these negative experiences that people have had in church. And I am hoping that you will weigh in by uh, filling out a survey, a 7-question survey. It's one of those Google form things, and I'll have the link in the description so you can do that. I just want to get your feedback and your thoughts on this. Anyway, I think some people have had the experience of church of being unnoticed. The only thing that they're there for is they're a butt in the pew and they're a coin in the coffer. They add to the attendance numbers of the church, and they add to the money that keeps the machinery of the church moving. And boy, I've been in churches where they really treat the church as a business, and that really sucks, for those of us who are human beings who want to be treated like human beings in that experience. So, and I think it's possible to move away from that paradigm into a paradigm of valuing every person. And understand, I'm not saying that every church does this. Many churches do not. I don't think any church sets out to do this. It's just some churches going to get caught in this trap. I've noticed that the goal, maybe not the stated goal, but the practical goal of most churches seems to be to educate believers. Okay, they pull people in every Sunday, and let's face it, most people, they didn't believe in Jesus, they wouldn't bother to go. Okay, it's like this just does not have enough appeal to somebody who is not a follower of Jesus to even make a showing. Okay. And so the unstated goal of churches seems to be to educate the people in the audience. A guy or gal gets up in front and they give a message. And, at the end of the message, you're supposed to know more than you did walking in the door. And, that is an okay goal, but I think that there is a higher goal, a better goal that we could aim for. And that goal is to mobilize believers, to empower believers, to enable us to go out and take our world by storm and to fulfill the real Great Commission. Which kind of brings me to another thing is I think in so many churches, the whole aim or goal or idea is let's just try to get people to pray that salvation prayer as though that was like the whole mission of everything, try to put people on that train to heaven. But if you stop and look at the Great Commission in Matthew 28, that's not what it says. It says, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them, yes, but also teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you. And what does that mean, in just regular words? It means that our job is to bring heaven to earth. It's not just to put people on the train to heaven. Our job is to bring heaven to earth. And I think it is possible for us as the body of believers to create something that ties into that goal of bringing heaven to earth, of transforming our culture and our families and our communities and our nation, and and really doing what Jesus asked us to do. Okay, let me go back to my list. Another problem, big problem, I've run into this, is the church many times just seems to be consumed with the politics of its own survival. And if you want to go out there and do something for God, if you feel, as I do, that you were sent here for a reason, you have a mission that you and you alone can complete before you die, that God didn't send you here for no reason at all, but He has a reason for your existence, a mission, a job for you to complete. And that mission does not involve volunteering in the nursery or serving as an usher or being part of the praise and worship team up front or running the sound system. If that mission involves something else and takes you someplace else, the church really just isn't all that interested. They don't really care. I'm sure some do. But my experience is, by and large, they don't, because it doesn't do anything for them. And if you really want to make a difference, so many people, I've run into this, maybe you have too, just run into this stone wall of bureaucracy. It's like, we've got to vet you and double vet you before we allow you to do anything in our church because you might mess things up. And we've invested a lot of time and money in this church, and we're not going to have some upstart like you come in and mess it up for us. So, there is this real sense of if you fit into our goals and our mission and what we're about as our little thing that we're doing, then great. But if you don't, if God has given you something else, it's like, we don't care. We're not interested. You're not going to get any support or help or encouragement or prayer or whatever from us. And that can be really discouraging. And for those of you who have been there, like I have much of my life, you know what a lonely feeling that can be and how discouraging that can be. But I think we can turn that around. I think we can do something that we can create a small group experience that focuses in on empowering you with the mission that God has given you, to helping you find it, helping you carry it out, celebrating your wins, troubleshooting your setbacks, and just encouraging you, helping you in every way. So, anyway, I think that that could be a big, big difference. Some people feel that the church is all about control, power, and authority, and I think some of them are. I've been in some like that. Not so much in recent years, but I've certainly seen them in the past. And I think we can turn that around and make at least a small group experience, maybe a network of small groups, all about empowering the individual, empowering you to do the thing that God has called you to do. Okay, page 2. And I'm sorry, I don't mean for this to go on and on, but I think that there's just a lot here. There's a lot that goes into our church experience, and I've been thinking about this for 50 years. What is the purpose of the church? What is it doing well? What is it doing poorly? If we could redesign it from scratch, what would we do? This is just like constantly going through my mind. Another big thing about the church is it is just so hyper-focused on its Sunday morning service. 1 hour a week. That's where most of the money goes, most of the effort goes. And really? Could we not instead create a group, a network, a body of believers where the focus is outside the walls? It's 24/7. It's not on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. It's on Monday morning at 10 o'clock, and Tuesday evening at 7 and Saturday at noon. It's about our lives as we live them. And how can we be on mission for God 24/7? So, uh, anyway, another thing about the church is so many churches are just a one-way communication. You sit in the audience, the preacher preaches to you. It's a one-way, it's a lecture, it's a one-way talk. And I think that we can create small groups that have this real conversation, this real two-way conversation. And I know a lot of churches have a small group program, and some of those small groups are just fantastic. And if you have that, you are really fortunate. But some don't. And sometimes the small groups aren't exactly what we need. And I know that most or many of these small groups are like Bible study oriented or book study oriented, which is good. I mean, all of that is good, but maybe it's possible to create something a little different. Something that instead of being a book study or a Bible study is more like a locker room meeting before you go out in the field. And I think I have the DNA for that. I'm excited about it. And I'm just looking for feedback from good people like you so that I can just put some refinement on it and figure out how to make it available to you and to anybody who might be interested. So, the way church has evolved is there's just limited opportunity to hear and share God stories, testimonies, we used to call them, stories of God showing up. Yeah, I think that's really unfortunate. I think we really need a platform for that, a setting for that, because that was so encouraging for me early on in my Christian journey. And I think it is for all of us. We all like to hear a good story of God showing up. Um, and then, there's division is such an issue with the church. And I think that maybe we can program into our small group experience a way to head off division and a way to move toward unity, move toward that understanding, respect, trust, and love that brings people together. So, I don't know. Maybe maybe easier said than done, but I think that there's ways to build that kind of into the system. Um, Another thing that I've certainly experienced at church is so many sermons follow this very simple formula. Here's a sin, you're committing it, stop. And, I don't want to disrespect pastors. I have so many pastors, it's really all they know. But it doesn't work, okay? It just does not work. I mean, the follow-up question is how? Stop how. And the follow-up answer is typically try harder, work harder. But that's not how the Christian life works. The Christian life is not about try harder. Try harder is what pagans do, and pagans often do it better than Christians. And that's why you see so many pagans running around that are just, in many ways, better people than Christians because they are trying harder. But the Christian life isn't designed around try harder. It's designed around hanging out with God. It's designed around having transformational experiences with God, where God meets us in our place of pain, in our place of confusion, in our mess, gives us the truth that sets us free, and we walk away feeling 1,000 pounds lighter and clarity of mind and uh, good focus in our lives, and sin loses its attraction. And, it's just God wants us on that transformational journey. And sadly, most pastors don't even seem to know how this works. And that is just truly sad. So uh, I could go on. I'll just mention a couple other things I've got on my list here. On a macro scale, the church just, to me, seems pretty disorganized. I can't speak for the Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church because I'm not really involved with them. But the Protestant Church and Evangelical Church, just on a macro scale, is it's like herding cats. To try to get us to do something that might make a really positive difference is like getting us all together is like herding cats. And I think that there might be a way that we can change that and get us all on the same page, kind of doing the same thing on a specific day so that the world can feel the impact of the Christian community. Anyway, I'm excited about that as a possibility. So if you're interested, when you do this survey, ask me about it. And then the church has kind of this change averse culture, whereas we need to be responding to new realities. So as I mentioned, I want to come back to a couple of things that I mentioned. First of all, this is not meant to discourage you if you're a pastor or a church leader. God bless you. I know that you're working hard. I know that you care deeply. I know that you're giving 110%. I know that you give very little appreciation. So please know that I appreciate you. We appreciate you. Uh, this is more about how the structure of how we do church has evolved over the years and how it places you as a pastor and you as a parishioner in kind of an untenable position, and how it just kind of works to not really give us the wins that we need. And I'm thinking that we can supplement our present church experience with a different kind of small group experience that fills in the gap. The church does some things very well: pastoral care, weddings, funerals, other things just very well. But let's see if we can supplement that with something that maybe the church isn't doing as well, and create a small group experience that really will meet people in a deep place and in a welcoming place, and give good people who care about following Jesus a place to thrive. So if that's you and you're interested, please check out the description, check out the link to this survey, and please take a few minutes and fill out the survey for me, because your thoughts will help me so much as I just kind of put the finishing touches on creating the DNA for a small group experience that I want to make available to you very soon, Lord willing. Anyway, I'm Dwight Clow. Hope these thoughts are helpful. Much love from my home to yours. Have a fantastic week.